Hello, viewers. Welcome to Tanks Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professionalism for today's items only. The investment I'm going to talk today will be Ethereum TKTH. So it's my second posting as of today. With respect to recording time of 5:40 p.m. on the Eastern Time, Ethereum could trade $4,092, up about 3.05% so far. With respect to overall crypto market, it's relatively flat, right? With respect to Ethereum, it's surging a little bit, up about 3.03%, hovering about the 4,000 close to $100 mark, and respectively, Bitcoin is also dragging up as well, hovering around like the $61,000 mark, hovering around the sideways fashion for basically the bulk of the day today, right? With respect to Cardano, Solana, and XRP are just and polkadot including, is kind of hovering on a sideways fashion, not doing much as well on the bulk of the day as well. With respect to Shiba Inu, is currently up about 20% at the moment. So we'll dive into the technical fronts to see what's going on here. What's the volume and how did that triangulate into? Is this mainly surged by the institutional investors, or is it mainly just FOMO from the public investors? And what are the next steps that we should foresee based on the momentum on the technical so far, right? So with respect to the news that I've been collecting for last 6 hours so far, it's been relatively light today, and I think Saturday is typically a light day on a media front, but there are some news that are, I would say one or two, that are quite interesting. With respect to the first one, Cointelegraph about 4 hours ago talked about even with Ethereum 2.0 underway, with respect to a London fork debut, L2 scaling is still a key to DeFi's future. So this is talking more about, in addition to the London fork debut, on transitioning to fixing some of the historical pain points that we have had with Ethereum, right? The high gas fees and transaction costs. Seems like the L2 can be another opportunity of area of improvement for Ethereum to get better going forward, which subsequently translate into more diversify or multiple ways for commercializations or corporate adoptions going forward. So it's a good problem to have. It's something we appreciate going forward. So I would say it's a relatively good bullish news to talk about more specificity around the L2 scaling. In addition to that, we also see some other news, but this is more related to Bitcoin. America's first Bitcoin ETF wants to waive trading restrictions, and this is something that ProShares, which is the initializer for the Bitcoin ETF, wants to basically make that a small of an equivalent type of playing field to waive the trading restrictions that is applicable to other investment vehicles that are in the exchange, right? They don't want Bitcoin ETF to be treated any differently. So that's something that with that affectation should translate into more bullish pressure, which is ultimately a positive news for us. Then the next one is talk about on Bazinga 4 hours ago. Talk about Ted Lasso, which is I believe a show on HBO Max or Apple TV. I don't really watch TV, so apologies if I don't catch on to this media news. Mentions Bitcoin in the finale. So I believe the TV show Ted Lasso. I think this is by Jason Sudeikis, if I'm not mistaken. It sounds familiar. Yeah, I think it is Apple TV. In the finale, he talked about cryptocurrencies. And this is not the first time we hear this on a mainstream TV show. We also heard this from HBO show called Billions, which Bobby Axelrod. I think he was trying to blackmail some hedge fund managers, to make an illegal transaction or something like that via cryptocurrency or via blockchain, if you may. So it's one of those episodes in season 3 that I've seen. I forget. It's a long time ago that I watched the show. I think I watched it when I was on a flight once. Again, I don't really watch TV, so apologies if I'm not butchering the shows that I'm talking about. The next one is talking about and more news about the Bitcoin's ETFs opens the floodgates for more. Talk about more investors are interested into buying this, and subsequently translates into the surging pressure that we see right now. It's up about 1%. I'm speaking right now. The next one's on Cointelegraph, talk about more related to technical analysis. With respect to Bitcoin, is still bullish, even if BTC price drops to 50K. So that's what they're saying is basically more of a normalization, and which is something we appreciate. And I think dropping to 50K, it would not be like a crash, or would not be like a straight off like going straight to the depression or anger stage. It would be just more like depleting, and allow the monetary circulations to slowly come back in. And I think that's something we need to do, and we need to occur for the whales, to feel comfortable incurring more exposure into Bitcoin again, right? Ultimately, some people or some whales selectively need to take some profit. And on top of that fact that we are in Q4, on the equity side, we're going to see more sector rotation happening, which we are already seeing among various tech stocks. As you can see, Tesla closed on Friday at $909. So I made a killing on that investment opportunity. I've been investing into Tesla for quite some time, for the last 3 years. So I've been buying a lot. I have a lot of shares of Tesla. So it was definitely amazing to see, amazing to watch. But I do foresee Tesla to keep surging despite it being overbought right now. We might see some normalization, but hedge fund community is going to do more sector rotation. It's going to pour more dollar into it. And where does the dollar come from? Basically from, their crypto assets holding, if they have, right? In addition to that, we do have a relatively large macro catalyst, which is the FOMC meeting that we'll be hearing from Jerome Powell. And also the CPI report as well. And those catalysts are oftentimes binary. Despite him saying something along the line that he has no intentions of banning crypto, but ultimately, we don't know how the news is going to spin the story going forward, right? Next thing you know, we could see consecutive days of negative news. And that could subsequently translate into more selling pressure. But ultimately, I do think, a correction or a slight correction, right, is healthy because it needs to, again, circulate the dollars from there, right? The next one's on CNBC about 7 hours ago. Talk about Twitter's and Square CEO Jack Dorsey says hyperinflation will happen soon in the U.S. and the world. Well, hyperinflation is something I think this is a little bit more of an animated affectation. Inflation has been occurring, right? It needs to happen for the monetary circulations to help support our country, the U.S. during the pandemic, right? A lot of corporations are not performing the same, right? At the same time, a lot of people lost their jobs and people were trapped at home. So in terms of like the normal economy that we had before COVID is extremely different, in comparisons to the last basically 2 years so far, ever since the beginning of COVID-19, right? So where's the money come from, right? The Feds had to basically print money from the Federal Reserve, and by doing that, it depreciate the U.S. dollars, and that subsequently translates into what they're saying, screaming inflation. It's like kind of like a sudden affectation, but that doesn't make any sense. It's something that happens gradually, not in a sudden fashion. So I guess Jack Dorsey, he has a mouth, and CNBC is gonna put that as a spin, and that's what happened ultimately. The next one is the last one. Talk about the Bitcoin meme. Elon Musk reports sold as an NFT for almost 20K. Interesting. It doesn't really have anything to do with Elon Musk, but it's just a meme of Elon Musk. So it's sold for 20K. I guess more NFT commercialization. Quite interesting, I guess. The next one's on crypto analyst called Michael Van Der Pop. Says that current Bitcoin correction is not over yet. He sees more correction coming. So more news talking about with respect to the technical analysis. So I would kind of just ignore the noise. Let's just go dive into the technical analysis real quick, shall we? So with respect to the recent trends, just to recap, ever since this huge surge, we hit all the way to the 4,377, which is technically like literally $40 away from all-time high, which is quite unfortunate, and immediately see a bunch of people have their sell order in, right? Despite the whole Friday option expiry, we just never got there yesterday, right? So right now we still try to drag up, try to sustain the pressure because Bitcoin is dragging up right now. We do have some positive news on Bitcoin, right? Obviously from the recent time frame in the last 6 hours so far. Right now, it's still overbought. We're still at the 67 out of 70. We are struggling above the $4,000 mark, which is a monumental level. If we break that, the next level is technically going back to the 38, which we have tested, before. And I would say we tested this on Friday, to be specifics, right? Because of the option expires and all the other COVID variants news, right? It seems like there's like a Delta version of the COVID. I forget the name of it, but it's something that is something we still need to be concerned about. And I think the cases are spreading in United Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. So if that breaks, right, we have to go to 3,472. We have to go to 3,150, and I think that's healthy because of the depletion for RSI for us to go back down from a def cross first and then go down. And as we recuperate back, and we should technically keep going up and sustain the rally from here. And this will be correlated with Bitcoin. So next one is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is with respect to the def cross that we're forming right now with 63 out of 70. Right now, we're just basically struggling, try to sustain to the lack thereof that we have right now. But ideally, we need to come back down to go back to, I think this is basically non-existence of consolidation. We need to come back all the way down to earth, way below 50K to 47,800. Or firstly, we need to test 52, but ideally, because of the fact that we're still overbought and we have such huge well back, we need to come back all the way down to earth. Ideally, right, would be somewhere around like the 50K. But for me to even incur more risk, I think 43 would be very logical based on how fast we've gone up, right? Let's see how fast we've gone up. This took us basically like 15 days, like 2.5 weeks. So whatever goes up really, really fast comes down just as fast. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go through that oscillation. At bare minimum, go to the 52. So I think breaking 52 and going to 50 would be very logical based on what one of the crypto analysts has also mentioned as well. So Dogecoin is right now is up about 1.85%. It's basically following the whole trends of Bitcoin and Ethereum. But again, at a more risk-averse level, we'll be buying somewhere around like the 22 and then the 20 cents, which is technically the bottom. Cardano is still hovering on a sideways fashion. I think Cardano is a good setup right now because of the fact that we're forming a downward wedge, and that's a bullish signal, and on top of it's relatively depleted. So I think buying now is not a bad idea, unless you want to wait until like 205 or like the $2 flat level. Solana is again, try to test the 200, which is exactly why you see this right now. And you could see that we tried to break all-time high today, but we couldn't because of the golden cross. People immediately sold down because of the extreme overbought level that we got. We were at the 72 out of 70 early today. And as we got there, we didn't even get there enough time for us to, fill the RSI gap. And immediately sold back down. So I think ideally buy somewhere around like the 155 at bare minimum because we do have some consolidation. But for me to feel comfortable would be somewhere around like the 113 to 93 to 66. XRP just kind of hovering on a sideways fashion. We did form a def cross, so we are at the 50 out of 70. So it's not ideal, but ideally wait until the 101 is not a bad level. Polkadot. Let's wait. Okay, there we go. Polkadot is kind of sustained, but like we still have a huge well back and it's fusing together closely with a 64 out of 70. So ideally selling back down to the 36 to the 30, but ideally for me 25 is more optimal. Algorand is just basically confirming with the other ones, mostly on the altcoin side. We are forming a golden cross right now, so ideally I wouldn't really chase it. I think the tip top would technically be somewhere around like the $2 mark, which I don't think we'll actually have a shot of doing so because we got canceled out so many times. I think ideally the 160 to 150 would be better level. Shiba Inu is it's definitely very, very funky right now. You could see that we're trying to break all-time high again, right? But we just couldn't get there. We're up about 20% right now. It seems like we are about to have some sort of bullish momentum if this crops up. But I do not suggest of testing your luck, really, to be honest, because of the fact that this could be relatively short-lived, right? You could see how much of a whale manipulation that we have had in a recent time frame. We might get pumped one more time, and we'll have like a bull trap right here, and then people FOMO in, which I hope people are not doing so right now. And as we get there, and I think we were testing basically an all-time high or close to all-time high that the RSI never even got confirmation to show the emergence of it. That as we get there again, we will see a relatively sharp cross, and you will see a mega red candle similar to the one you saw right here. So Shiba Inu is definitely very, very risky right now, especially everything screaming overbought. Despite this slow golden cross that we form, I think we might form this once, just a tiny bit. We might break all-time high a little bit, and then we will sell back down relatively quickly. And I think this is mainly driven by whale manipulations based on the volume and the lack of volume, I would say, that we're seeing right now. So it's like mainly coming from like one or two large accounts that's driving this volume right now. So with respect to the risk management levels, these are the levels that we identify here for you guys. Hopefully, again, the risk management level is encapsulating both the RSI depletion and the MACD when it's forming a golden cross, or at the cusp of forming a cross, right? And that's ideally the best level that I would buy at, right? And I got a question on Shiba Inu, like what's going on here. It's basically a roundup. I think anywhere approximately around that level would be ideal for you. It's not the best, but it's like those are the levels that, in terms of like consolidation, I think 900 to 800 for Shiba Inu is not a bad level. It's when it's the ideal level on an RSI perspective for you to dollar cost average at. So hopefully this is helpful. It's a Saturday evening. I'm actually gonna head out for dinner soon. But I got home earlier today. I went to just like the dog park and I was like walking thin. But really appreciate you for dropping by and always showing the support. And stay tuned for some comment. Take care. Bye.